So the iPhone 14 Pro Max has been probably the fastest mainstream flagship phone on the market today. And while we covered the Poco F5 Pro, today we're going to take a look at the Poco F5 in comparison to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. You can see it does come rocking a flagship Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 processor. Now this is a 4 nanometer processor with 5G capabilities, and this phone right here does actually give you a mid-range tier processor, but something like flagship performance you're going to see in this video. 120 hertz, 6.67 inch AMOLED dot display, some 67 watt turbocharging, and a camera, triple camera. Let's take it out of this sleeve real quick, take a look at the phone here. So this is the competitor for today. Now this phone is not really a flagship grade phone. However, it definitely does give you a lot of flagship performance, even if it comes in this more plasticky body. So let's go ahead and boot both phones up at the same time in 3, 2, go. And if you're not aware of what Poco is, it's basically a more affordable version of a Xiaomi-based device. Now, the Xiaomi devices are more high-end, and these phones aren't widely available in the US. So if you are watching this in the US, you would have to buy this unlocked. This is a global model that you're seeing right here, which means it can be used around the world, and it doesn't have Chinese-based ROM on it. So this is a global-based version with the Play Store and all that good jazz. But you see that the iPhone has booted up way faster. Now, I do want to mention the reason for comparison is they're claiming on here that this is a flagship grade processor. So let's see how fast it is. And I'm always interested to see how fast are these more affordable based devices versus the premium ones. And I can tell you, I've been doing some pre-testing, and this Poco F5 has been pretty impressive. Now, when it comes to generally unlocking these phones, the iPhone 14 Pro Max does have Face ID. So when you do take a look at that Face ID sensor right there, it definitely just pops right open. No issues, even on angles, it's pretty good. I don't have erase to wake available, so I mean, I didn't turn it on because I don't use that feature that often, but definitely you'll see very fast there. Now, what's interesting about the Poco F5 and by comparison to the F5 Pro is that the Poco F5 actually has a fingerprint sensor right here on the power button. And so what that means is basically incredibly fast unlocking. And take a look at the animation. Very smooth when it goes in. And it's not like this is something special, but I always love hardware-based fingerprint sensors. I just think they're super reliable. You never miss with these. And there's no way the iPhone can be faster when I could just go like this and it's in. Like this and it's in. So it's just like, you don't even gotta look. Once you know where it's at, you're good to go. Well, there's not really a reason to know where it's at. You're always going to know where it's at. So very good there. Now, the Poco F5 in terms of the software is running a Poco based version of the Xiaomi MIUI software, MIUI 14 right here. So definitely you could see they do have their categorizations here in the app drawer: communications, entertainment, news and reading, shopping, and games. Now, one thing I will say about the Poco F5 is that it does have a very nice screen, very bright screen, and the phone also has a pretty darn good mid-range processor with 120 hertz panel. So, I mean, take a look at the smoothness of the general operating system here. This thing is buttery smooth day to day. Now, the iPhone is king of being super smooth as well. But honestly, when we're in app library, I know it has the adaptive refresh. That's why it definitely changes. You can see the Poco actually looks a little faster here when scrolling through. So honestly, even though this phone clocks in at under $350 for the Poco F5, you know, this phone is actually giving you performance that probably rivals things that are closer to $600, $700, $800. So really nice performance there. I'm probably not going to see these phones make it to US carriers, but still, being that you can get them global, it might be a solid option if you want to use it. All right, so before we get into the application test, take a look at the detailed info and specs. We do have 12 gigabytes of RAM. This is a Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 mobile platform. That's an octa-core max clocked at 2.91 gigahertz. And this is on Android 13, security update April. And then we do have the MIUI 14.0.6 on board here. We already know we're on 16.4.1A, which was a security response for the iPhone. 6 gigs of RAM, Apple A16 on the left. Let's see how this does next to the iPhone. We'll go into calendar, and iPhone says, I'll take that first victory. Let's go into weather. Pretty much even Steven there. Let's go into clock. Pretty even there. We'll go into Play Store, App Store. Again, pretty darn close. I think it was the iPhone by a hair. This one is the Poco right here. Let's head up out of there. We'll go into Instagram. And you're going to find Instagram. That might have been the right, actually. We're going to give that to the Poco. But take a look at this Poco performance. They are not kidding when they said that's a flagship processor. Poco first on the right. This phone actually comes in at less than $400, the Poco F5. Do you believe that? Yeah, less than $400. And look at the kind of performance you're getting. You're getting performance that rivals $1,000+ phones. And even faster in some areas. Let's go on Amazon. You'll find that was first on the Poco. Let's head up out of here. And if you take a closer look at animations, I do believe the MIUI actually has some pretty darn smooth animations. They're doing this pretty well. Let's go into Best Buy. I don't believe they have the cleanest, most polished looking software. Apple said, shut up, Nick. They went on the right. But I do believe that they have very good looking, animations. Let's go into eBay. You could see, there we go. On the right, this is incredible performance. I already knew this was going to happen because even though I didn't actually test these already, I will tell you that I was playing around. I've been playing around with the Poco F5. I'm probably going to do a review on it on the More Nick Ackerman channel, so be subscribed to the channel. But I've been pretty impressed with the way this thing performs. And don't get it twisted. I don't think it's a better phone or performs overall better than the iPhone in terms of actual CPU power. I'm just saying we're talking mostly about this phone because we already know what this phone is capable of. We don't got to keep harping about the iPhone 14 Pro Max and what it's capable of. And it's kind of funny how I'm talking about its capabilities and it just lost really badly here. And Asphalt 9 on that load time. Remember, load times are just load times. Not giving it its credit. I'm not trying to say that it gets credit for being a slow loading in that Asphalt 9. I'm just saying that sometimes these apps in these tests, they can load fast on one. And then if I do it again, it'll load faster on the other. It's kind of weird. But you'll see it's looking like we're going to get the Poco, maybe getting into Call of Duty first, unless this is downloading some more resources. Which one's going to get into this game first? Remember, the Poco phone, the Poco wins this. The Poco has a game turbo as well. What it does is it actually boosts the performance when you start opening up games. That's pretty cool because it can remain in a regular performance mode, just day-to-day usage. But then once you tap a game like Call of Duty or something, it would just open right up. So I do believe that this Call of Duty in here is loading something a little bit different than this. Probably why it's taking longer. That's probably not the most fair test. And I'm not trying to give it credit, but it's definitely loading something different than this phone was loading, like some resources or something. So yeah. Yeah, this test is probably not incredibly accurate here on this Call of Duty section. So let this thing load up. I'm going to close them out and I'm going to actually reload Call of Duty because, yeah, there's no way they were both initializing the same stuff here. Let me go ahead and close out Call of Duty here on Poco F5. I'll be back and I'll redo this Call of Duty right here. All right, so let's reopen Call of Duty here and see what happens on this run. Again, Game Turbo boosts the gaming performance. That's on by default. So you automatically are going to get that extra performance on the Poco. They should be more evenly matched here on this run. And you could see, it looks like the iPhone going to take it by a hair. Only by a little. See, that first run, the iPhone was loading some stuff, so that wasn't fair. iPhone was faster to load Call of Duty, once things got initialized. Let's go into Temple Run 2. And even with that pop-up, we'll see, is Poco going to lose this? Or are they going to win this one? Let's see. Pretty darn similar. So running these basic casual apps, no problems for most phones. I mean, if you can't run this game, you really got to check your performance. Subway Surfers, they even boost Subway Surfers. They even gave them a little boost. That's faster on the Poco. Man, this is crazy, dude. Honestly, I'm kind of blown away, dude. That this is how is this happening? Under $400 and this phone is blowing away, not blowing away, but winning out some games versus the iPhone, you've seen benchmark was first on the left. And then I'm not going to do 3D Mark because 3D Mark doesn't open properly on this phone. Let's go on to KineMaster. They're going to load an ad here, so we're not going to count this section, but we'll just kind of see how it does. Inside application, you could see once in, no issue. Pretty fast there. See, even inside of these applications, certain things are loading faster. For the Poco, this is insane, guys. You can get phones these days that are 1/3 the price of premium flagships and get the same performance. But I know that's not gonna be something that you're gonna do if you really want the top end experiences. I'm just saying, this is so fun to watch. For me, it's so fun to see, you know, how these things perform. It's just really fun. I love seeing these cheaper phones put up a fight against Goliath. David versus Goliath. Let's take a quick look at how the 14 Pro Max handled its animations. I think it does it the best of the best. I don't think there's a single phone on the market that gives me the pleasure of looking at animations like the iPhone. I mean, this is just incredible. And it's one of the main reasons why I will not give up using the iPhone. It's the polish, the experience of how buttery smooth and just the polish every day, man. It's just buttery smooth all day, every day. Now, I will tell you, for an Android phone, the Poco has probably some of the better performance here. That is just because it's in a landscape mode. I actually think that MIUI might be doing better animation speed than, not speed, but like look sometimes in Samsung phones, which is quite insane. But overall, you've seen how great that was. That was incredible for the price point. So rock solid there on the Poco F5 when it comes to going back through the apps, but still, it still looks more polished on the iPhone. All right, and our final Geekbench scores are in, and pretty respectable for the Poco F5. 4364 on multi-core, 1647 single, but not enough to take down, obviously, the iPhone 14 Pro Max with a 6094 and a 2487 on its single core. Now, we could run even more tests, but I think we get the picture here. The Poco F5 being a, you know, it's probably not the best looking design phone. It actually feels kind of cheap to hold. Not going to kid with you there. But it's not always about what it feels like. It's about what's on the inside. And I got to tell you, that CPU is amazing. I hope they put this in way more phones this year, because that's a great CPU to get phones a little bit cheaper with some really solid performance. This thing is pretty amazing performance-wise. Not enough to, I think, convince people over something like, over something like an iPhone, but still pretty nice performance there on the Poco F5. I would say overall it was faster in certain speed of certain applications. The iPhone, a technically still more powerful CPU. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know what you think of these Poco F5 series devices. Let me know if you also want to see the review. And if you do, be subscribed to the More Nick Eckerman channel. You can find it on my channel page. That's where I will be covering these non-Apple, Samsung, Google, you know, the US-based phones. I'll be covering on that channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.